I'm Laura Bonnell, and this is the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast coming to you from Detroit. Please subscribe and even rate and comment on our podcasts when it moves you. I learn something new with every podcast, and I'm always inspired by the people that are showcased here. We don't give medical advice. You need to connect with your doctor for that. I hope that this Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast educates you and sparks some volunteering or advocacy. The CF community needs people like you. Thanks to our sponsor, Beatrice, for their support. You are about to meet Heather Ashle, a lifelong book lover who started scouring bookshelves as a kid, collecting more stories than she says she could ever hope to read in a lifetime. The books that captured her heart most are the ones that were filled with dragons and magic. And for Heather, fantasy wasn't just fun, it was also an escape. She lives with cystic fibrosis, and that meant hours of daily treatments and other worldly tales offered her so much escapism that she just relished in that. Her passion for stories followed her through school, where she was just as likely to be caught reading in between classes. And that love of books eventually led to 2 English degrees from Oakland University. And when Heather is not writing her own fantasy stories, she says that she is still deep in that world through books, music, theater, movies, and even the Renaissance Festival and witches' bazaars. And what is her mission? You're going to hear about that in this podcast, but she says to offer readers the same kind of whimsical escape that she found in stories and to create characters who open windows into lives that are messy, beautiful, and deeply human. So I'm delighted to introduce you to Heather. And thanks for being with us. Thanks, Heather. It's great to see you again with your signature hat. I love it.
It's great to see you too. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that we could.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned in the introduction, the first time we met was at a Children's Hospital of Michigan family event. And this was, if I'm correct, the first time that you have spoken at a cystic fibrosis family day. And of course, you were terrific.
Oh, thank you.
So how did it feel to be able to speak to parents and to caregivers and hospital staff?
Kind of like the smallest but also best possible way I could give back and thank them for everything they've done for me, for our community. I just hope that they understand how appreciated they are. I don't know if they're told enough. I don't know if it's possible to tell them enough how much their love and support means to us as a community. Certainly to me, I'm incredibly grateful. So I just wanted to be able to remind them that they are incredible, wonderful, selfless people who deserve all the praise and appreciation in the world.
And that was such a wonderful and important thing to say. And you even said that parents were your heroes, or maybe you said your parents were, but
both.
But yeah, thank you. But why is that? Why have your parents played such a critical role in just your life in general, and then with, including cystic fibrosis?
Well, it's kind of both go into the same answer. I mean, they've been incredibly supportive my entire life. My mother was basically the one who diagnosed me. She remembered those campaigns about kissing your baby's forehead, it being salty, they may have CF. And she put 2 and 2 together. I know it sounds like a familiar story to yours. And she battled to get me tested. And then the 2 of them and my extended family, grandparents, everybody came together to make sure that I had what I needed to thrive and survive. And it was a rough time for them. They hadn't been married that long. They were young. They were starting out in life. They had a brand new house and all kinds of responsibilities, and they all pulled together to make sure that it was going to be what I needed, I was also the first grandchild, so it was a big deal, and I'm sure a huge blow to find out that this was going to be a challenge that we all had to overcome together. But we are a village, we are a team, and we have always pulled together. And my folks have been at the forefront of all of that since the very beginning and continue to be to this day. They are my greatest supporters, my fiercest cheerleaders. And I'm an only child, so I have an incredibly tight relationship with them, and I am fiercely loyal to them in return, and I love them dearly.
That is so wonderful, such a tribute and sweet.
I'm very lucky.
Yes, you are. Also, I think anybody listening, they can hear how you write. I feel like when you speak, you are artistic and creative. I hear your creativity.
Oh, thank you.
If I closed my eyes, I would still hear it. But that was initially the first beautiful thing that I found when you spoke at the event.
Thank you.
You're just creativity, like this beautiful wind whispering. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I loved hearing you talk.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad that it was worthwhile. I worked so hard to try to make it so.
Where does this come from? Do you feel like as soon as you could speak, you had this creativity in you and it just grew as you got older?
I don't know. I think words have always been my avenue. Apparently, one of my first major sentences was, "Let's negotiate that," which I'm sure my parents were like, well, this is going to be a nightmare. But I think words have always drawn me to them. They are so versatile, and I don't have a lot of experience with other languages, a little bit of German. But I have found that English is so versatile, so many synonyms and different ways to say things, and all slightly different, so that you can really pick and choose exact specific words for the tone, for the message that you're trying to convey. It's almost like a puzzle. And as I studied, I found myself more and more drawn to figuring out that puzzle and looking at the duality of words and the way that they can be used, sometimes in more ways than one, all at the same time. And that was so fascinating to me. And I'm also a major reader, mostly of fantasy. It's my favorite. And so I was kind of reading these books and going, well, these are great and I adore them. I want to make my own worlds, though. I want to have the world that I'm almost seeing through theirs, but that they haven't quite reached. I want to tell that story. And so I just became drawn to the ability to do that.
And so tell us what you've done as far as writing goes, the books.
Yeah, so I am the author of the Realm Riders series. I have 2 books out right now. An Heir of Realms is the first one, H-E-I-R, as an inheritor. And A Transfer of Realms is the sequel. And they're both out. And I am currently finishing up a prequel novella for one of the realms in my book. And I'm also working on book 3 for the series.
Tell us a little bit about them. If somebody was looking for this book, what would they find?
So the elevator pitch goes, it's a tale of 2 young heroines, a dragon rider and a portal jumper, who are fighting dragon-like parasites to save their realms from extinction.
Very creative, and you can really visualize when you read, the introduction and what your book is about. What draws you to that?
Pretty much everything that I've ever read, and also my affinity for dragons, because they have captivated my attention since I was a little girl. Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders of Pern is a major influence. I read that when I was very little. Storm Constantine, a British author who wrote Wraithu, which is one of my favorite novels, also kind of created this immersive world building that I had never experienced. And her characters were so unique and interesting. And I just took all of my favorite pieces, even movies that I really loved, and they all just kind of amalgamated in my very cluttered and scary brain and came out as this world that just finally was the one that I really wanted to read about. And so I'm really excited to just see where my characters take me, because I'm on the journey as much as any of my readers are.
And knowing that people are reading and interpret reading differently. And as someone who reads a lot, is it in your mind, or I assume you're writing for yourself, you're not writing necessarily for other people, but how do you draw people in when you're writing a book, or how do you hope to?
I think with fantasy being a bit of a niche, fantasy is the only genre I'm currently writing in. I am a bit of a one-trick pony, but I'm trying to do the best I possibly can with that trick. I think with fantasy, though, it's a bit of a niche. I think it's very widespread and beloved, but I still think there are a lot of people who just cannot connect with it. It's too out there for them. And for those of us who are interested in the genre, it's all about our favorite elements of it: the world building, the dragons, the magic, and the magical rules. And I think if you're into that stuff, that knowing that those things are present in the book are hopefully going to be the draw, especially if they're done well.
You know, books are something to escape to and to be drawn into, and just, you can be so entrenched in a book that you kind of forget, you know, everything around you. Yeah. When you read your own books, do you still get drawn in by the words that and the stories you've created?
I do. That probably sounds egotistical, but actually, I'm just as drawn in when I'm writing them. Because like I've said this before, my characters just tell me what to write. I am literally just the typist. I take notes, I ask them questions, and they answer them, and then I write it down. So I am just as intrigued as anybody else, because these characters have a life of their own in my head, and I'm just chronicling what they're experiencing.
And that is not an uncommon thing to hear from artists, whether it's sculptors or painters, or you are being spoken to by some other medium, or it's just coming in your brain, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how creative people work.
Yeah, we're kind of a conduit for these energies that we're drawing together, whether it's one energy into a single piece of art or multiple energies into the various characters within that art. It's pretty much the most incredible experience to have that information just kind of channel through you and create a cohesive whole. It's hard to explain. If you're not a creator, it may sound bizarre, but it is magical, honestly. And I think that's kind of what makes it fun to write in fantasy, because the experience of writing is just as magical as the tales you're telling.
Have your parents read them? I'm sure they have. And yes. What do family and friends think of your books?
They've all been incredibly supportive. As far as I know, they love them. That's what they're telling me, and I'm choosing to believe it. But no, they've said that they love it, and they're asked, usually when they finish one, they ask for the next one, especially if it isn't available yet. I've had many demands for book 3. I'm working as fast as I can. But apparently I had to write a prequel novella first. Book 3 stopped in my brain and everything dammed up behind it. And it said, you need to do this over here first. And it turns out I really did. As I've been getting back into book 3 a little bit more, I've found that the information in the novella, though I thought I understood it, was apparently more nebulous in my brain than I knew. And now, having expanded upon it, was very important for me to move forward. So I just do what they tell me. And if everybody seems to like it, I'm thrilled.
It's so interesting and beautiful to watch you even talking about it. Because clearly you just love what you're doing.
I do.
And I also think it's really important when we're doing these podcasts, and I'm reminded often that, I mean, I have 2 kids with it. I don't really need to be reminded often. They're not the disease, right? They're their individual person, but it's important to say it again. So knowing that, how do you feel on a day-to-day when you have to do a treatment, or you have to take care of yourself, or you're not feeling well? Do you just intertwine the real highlights of writing a book and then the reality of, oh, today CF is really kicking my butt, or whatever it is?
Yeah. Honestly, the treatments don't bother me, because I have a writing desk that I can put in front of me while I'm doing them. So yes, I'm tied to one spot for about 45 minutes in the morning and a half an hour in the evening, but I'm writing. That's never bothered me. And it's since I can't hear, because I also do the vest. So it's just percussive all over the place and it's very hard to hear. I'm very rarely interrupted. So I actually really love that time because with that white noise, I just get into the zone and I don't stop until the vest or, the nebulizer does. But on the days that I'm not feeling particularly well and up to working, those are my greatest battles because all I want to do is sit in front of a keyboard and write. And if I'm not feeling that creative drive because I'm not feeling physically well, boy, does that frustrate me. And I have to really find a place of grace with myself and honor the fact that some days are just not going to work out the way I want to. And just kind of own it and just take care of myself so that tomorrow I can write.
How do you feel people that know you or are a fan and follower of your books, how do they perceive you or how do you want to be perceived as an author and someone who also shares her experience about cystic fibrosis?
I hope that they're inspired. I mean, we've all got something, right? Nobody's is worse or less than or more than anybody else's in an objective sense, because we all have our own relative reaction to it as well. So you hopefully will be empowered to take on your day-to-day challenges and power through them. And that's what I'm hoping that people will see when I talk about cystic fibrosis that I'm trying to do and that they can do too. I think that there are some terrible tragedies and challenges out there that people face. And I just want them to know that they can get through it. It takes personal fortitude and hopefully the support and love of the people around them that I am so lucky to have, an incredible support system I have, to help them do it. But so much of it comes from within. And so if you can just tell yourself that you can do it, you can.
And how has your CF journey been? How did you get to where you are today and some of the stumbles along the way health-wise?
I wrote and I read. No. I think I've actually been incredibly fortunate. I'm Delta F508. So I'm one of the most common, and since I'm
mutation.
Yeah, my mutation, sorry. And so since I have that very common one, they have so many treatments for it. And I've been extraordinarily lucky. When I was in school, I had some challenges with my health, just like anybody. And I really didn't have the time because I was so focused on academia to do medical studies. But once I was out of school and able to actually begin participating in them, I was gung-ho. And I've been doing mostly CFTR modulator studies for the last 10 years, almost entirely nonstop. It has just been rolling from one into the next. And that has incredibly changed my life. The first one I did was Orkambi, and it was truly life-changing. I could breathe, and I knew that I was on the drug at the point of the double-blind study within an hour of taking it, which obviously negates kind of the whole double-blind thing. But my reaction to the medication was so intense that I literally looked at my mother and my nurse coordinator, and I just went, "Is this how you people breathe? This is the most amazing thing. Why didn't you tell me about this all these years ago? This is incredible." So I've had my ups and downs, but I feel like since I was able to start participating in the studies and these amazing drugs have come out, that I have really taken a turn for the better, and I can actually spend more time on self-care and see a benefit from it.
That is wonderful. And I am just wondering, is there like a fantasy book about anything cystic fibrosis related, or do you keep those separate, which is totally fine? I'm just curious.
It's never occurred to me to write one. It's so funny. I must keep them separate. I must separate them because people often go, "Well, you should write a CF blog. You should share your experience." And I go, "What experience? This is my life. It's my day to day. I don't know any differently." But I don't know of any CF related fantasy novels. Maybe I'll write one day. But what I do like about, and maybe this is why it's my default, keeping them separate, is that I don't have to be defined by my CF when I'm writing or I'm reading or I'm joining my characters on some journey. That is not a problem during that time. And while I think it would pose an interesting challenge, they would definitely need some incredible power sources to keep those nebulizers running while they're in Old England and places like it. I think it would present interesting challenges for a character that I don't think we've ever seen in a fantasy book, at least not that I'm aware of.
And I am just reminded, and this is how life works, the serendipitousness of, if I just messed up that word, but
No, you didn't.
I love serendipity and I love those moments. But on my bookshelf in front of me is a fantasy book, which includes someone with cystic fibrosis in it. The character's name is Kevin. I'm going to connect you with the author, Melody Ramone, Falls the Breath. And it's great. I've read it a couple times, and it is a fantasy book. And you two will get along great. So we're
great. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to do that. But,
cool.
You know, sometimes things don't occur to you until you're in the middle of a podcast. So I was just like, ding, ding, ding. Oh yeah, I'll have to do that. And what are your hopes for you as far as your future goes with writing? Do you see them being made into a film, or do you just want to write more books?
To start, I definitely want to write more books. My end game is to finish this series, or at least the current story that I'm on. It has the potential to be a very large series. There are many prequel novels and spin-off stories that I could do with it because my world building has become so robust. Because I don't like to do anything easily. But movies would be lovely if done properly, and honored the text. I know that can be hard to do these days because people want to see different things or they want to abbreviate or bridge. Really, the other thing that I want to see from my writing career is just helping other authors. I have my own publishing company, HB Inc. LLC, and we do editing, formatting, and publishing services for other independent authors. And it's an incredible process working with these talented people and seeing them realize the dream that they had when they set out to write their first novel. And I get all of these flashbacks to when I was writing An Heir of Realms and learning the process and trying to make it as good as I possibly could. And it's so fun helping other people do the same. And so I don't want to just promote my career, but I'd also love to help others really get a hold on theirs.
You must realize, because of what you just said, but so many people want to write a book. Like almost everybody wants to write a book, and everybody should write a book because we all have our own beautiful stories. I mean, the book I'm writing, I laugh that I say that I'm even writing it because it's forever. It's taking, and every year I'm like, I'm going to get it done this year. And every year I do not get it done. But, what do you say to people who are contemplating writing a book or in the midst of it? How do you get it done? How did you get it done? What do you have to do?
Yeah, it took me 10 years to get the first book where I wanted it. And a lot of book 2 was part of that. So I totally get it. It takes a minute. It really does. I would say just keep going. Don't over edit. Don't over analyze. Just write. I mean, that's what they always say, right? It sounds so cliche, but it's honestly true. Because if you can get at least the basics, the ideas down, then you can go back and clean and polish and figure it out and rearrange. I rearrange all the time. And you can figure out exactly what you want it to be. But if it's stuck up here, it's so much harder to actually realize it and get it to a place where you're happy with it. But if you can get it out, then you can scrub and clean and polish to your heart's delight.
Did you see this happening for yourself all the time when you were growing up? Or is it something you realized in the last 10 years that it took you to write the book?
I always knew I wanted to write. From the time I started realizing that these worlds could be brought into reality when I was a kid, I knew I wanted to do it. And I just didn't know how. I had so many false starts. I mean, all kinds of little tiny novels that I'd start and I'd get 40 pages in and then I wouldn't know what to do with myself. A big part of what made it possible for me was outlining, because it allowed me, and then ignoring my outline, because it's sort of that same concept of getting it out. So you write it down, you think you know where you're going, maybe you have some vague shadow of an idea, and then as the characters tell you that you are very wrong indeed, you just update the outline, and after they've told you what to do, and then you move forward and you go, well, okay, well, what about, let's talk about this. And the characters go, well, I'll tell you what that's really about. Sorry. And then you just retype everything the way it's supposed to be. So yeah, no, I knew forever. I just didn't know it was going to be this. This story came to me. I was working on it on one of those false starts. I actually got a little bit farther than a false start. I wrote all the way through one side of the series. And then I had a dream where I had all this weird stuff come to me, and I went, that's the other half. And that's when I went back and started writing this other side of the novel. So I had the Dragon Rider side, I needed the Portal Jumper side, and I started feeding it in together and weaving it together into the series and cutting away part of book 2. I had to find a breaking point. And yeah, it was an amazing, again, it felt divine. It was just an incredible experience to have that come to me, and then to realize that's what I needed. And I did. I really did.
And that's amazing. Amazing, too, that you remembered your dream. I'm always like texting things in my phone so I don't forget. Oh, my gosh, I have this idea. I always have the ideas.
Yes.
I think it's a very woman thing that you have the ideas when you're trying to go to sleep, and then every idea in the world comes into your brain, and you have to write them down so you can go to sleep, but also so you can remember them. And I wanted to ask you another thing. I was a news reporter in Detroit, and of course you could go be a national correspondent or an international reporter. And it's the same with being an author. And this is me getting to my question, but you can be whatever visibility or celebrity of writer that you want.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's best to be happy where we are, but strive to do whatever you want. So where do you see yourself in the world of writing in that regard?
I would love for my books to be more well-known, or at least I don't need fame and fortune. It's fine. That's a lot of pressure, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that, and I don't know if I ever will be. But I would love for more people to be able to sit down with my book and hopefully enjoy it. I think that would be an amazing place to be, where that was a sustainable career for me, and that also helping other authors with their with their projects would be part of that sustainable career, so that I could actually have enough reach to help other people. And also so that I could have a little bit more of a platform to help with cystic fibrosis, because while the studies are great, and I'm really privileged to be a part of them, I feel like more could be done to share the awareness and kind of help promote healing for what I like to call my tribe.
Absolutely. And that was going to be my next question, the future that you see for yourself in regard to cystic fibrosis, or what your hopes are for the CF community.
Well, I've always said I've been gunning for the genetic studies. Those are the big deal for me. And since they haven't been around yet, I've been doing the CFTRs because they were the next best thing. I think it would be wonderful if we could all get to a place where we're just not that affected by it anymore. Obviously, it's probably not something we can eradicate from the gene pool, at least not for a while yet. But if we could all kind of live with it like it didn't exist, if generations could be born without the kinds of lung scarring and trauma that will forever afflict my generation and older generations, that would be wonderful. And that's my goal.
And tell everyone your age if you're comfortable with that, just so they know where you are.
Yeah, I'm 37 and a half. You got to get that in there. My birthday's in September, so we're coming up on 38. I know a lot of people are like, oh, woe is me, I'm this old. But honestly, when you're in a position of gratefulness just for being alive, counting the birthdays and the ascending birthdays is really important.
Right. And we made the birthdays for the girls so big. That was the big thing. Celebrating every birthday was so huge.
Yeah.
We've talked so much about writing and your books, but was there, tell us, you're married, right? You're newly married.
I am.
it's this year you were married.
December of 24. Yep.
Okay. So, yeah. And some people, that is a thing for them. They're wondering if they'll find somebody who would marry somebody, with a rare disease. What was your experience about dating and getting married?
I was lucky because I actually found the love of my life. I dated many people who were very accepting and wonderful. I dated a couple frogs too, who really didn't want anything to do with cystic fibrosis, and we did not last. And I respect it. It's a lot to take on, and I really praise the people who did. My husband has type 1 diabetes, and so we found an incredible understanding and connection with that, what I'll call a lifelong affliction kind of mindset, because we don't have that victimized lifelong affliction mindset. We have the empowered mindset that goes along with just living every day as best we can to take care of ourselves as best we can, and then also to be able to take care of the people around us and be the best people we can for them. And so because we both shared that similar mindset, everything clicked into place like instantly. And I knew on like the second or third date that I was going to marry him.
That is wonderful. And that empowered mindset is so productive, is it not? I mean, it just manifests success in every direction.
And love, which is so important. I mean, you have to love yourself, which I know everybody says, and it's a battle. Let me tell you, I'm not good at it. I have my days where I'm like, this is frustrating. But I also feel like if you can just accept that it's also part of what made you you, I would not be me without cystic fibrosis. And frankly, I think I'm better for it. I think it is the humbling factor that teaches me compassion toward others and even toward myself. That's really important on a day-to-day basis, especially when things get hard.
And I think that's so interesting that you say it, because it must be a thing with people who have a rare disease in their families, because I think we really have an understanding of our time here on earth and what's important. I guess it just simply puts life in perspective for us. I mean, not like we're perfect and don't have some gossipy days or anything like that, come on. But it seems like it really does set us up that way.
It does. Yeah. It's incredible, because I think on the other side of the scale, there are people who end up getting sick later in life after a life full of health and happiness that doesn't prepare them for that challenge. And so it's actually sort of a stepping into things more gradually kind of a process for those of us who've been dealing with something like this all of our lives. We're sort of used to it, if one can say that. And it so empowers when things get challenging, because you're like, well, how bad can it possibly be? Like, I've gotten through all of these other things so far, so I can do this. And that is such a valuable mindset. And I hurt for people who don't experience it, or who experience an onslaught of negativity or health issues at a point in their life where they've never had to experience anything like that before and are just plunged into the deep end. It's so much easier never to know anything different.
Is there another part of you that you wanted to share with people listening, either something you're doing professionally or for cystic fibrosis that you're working on? Is there anything we forgot to talk about with you?
I don't think so. I'm just starting my business in earnest. After a 10-year career in finance, finally taking the leap. I took the plunge and I started my own publishing company in earnest. It's been established since 2012, but I have not been able to really put myself into it full time until now. And my husband helped make that dream a reality for the both of us. And I'm just trying to find my place in that entrepreneurial world right now, and how to help expand that reach into books, into other authors' publishing journeys, into the CF world, and trying to help my tribe. And I'm just trying to find my sweet spot. And when I do, I'll let you know.
Well, the information about you, so people can contact you, is in show notes. And we'll put a link if somebody wants to get your book, but can they get your book anywhere?
Virtually anywhere. It's on Amazon. It's on my website. It's on the first one is with Barnes and Noble as well. So they can order it online. If they're looking for signed copies, if they're not local to Michigan and they're not coming to one of my shows, they can always order that through my website as well. It makes a great gift for a fantasy lover in your life.
Well, you are just delightful, and I'm so glad that you were able to be on this podcast. It's great that more people know about you now, and we're just really grateful for you. It was great to meet you. I just was so impressed with you at that family night. So thanks for everything you're putting out into the world. I love it.
Oh, same to you. Thank you for everything you do. I'm so appreciative of all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The original music in this podcast is performed by Kevin Allen.
It's not complicated.
Who happens to have cystic fibrosis.
We all got our worries and fears. I know it's got you frustrated, but loving you is so alright.
This has been the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast. For more information and to learn more about the Bonnell Foundation, visit our website at thebonnellfoundation.org. That's the BONNELL Foundation.org.
This podcast was produced by Jag and Detroit Podcasts. Follow our show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.